welcome to Spa for round 5 of the DTM Trophy season number 3. Season 2022. We have got rounds or races 9 and 10 for you this weekend, but this is free practice number 2. They had practice this morning and it was a Porsche party. It was Daniel Gregor that took the spoils and Ricky Capo in second position. So not only did they get 3 podiums last time out at the Nürburgring, but they've continued their form into Spa, although it was wet to dry conditions. So, yeah, a little bit interesting to say the least. How much we can read into that, I'm not too sure. But the track right now is bone dry. The sun is out, it is absolutely glorious. But as I say that, there are also massive grey clouds just about to go over the start-finish line here at Spa. The weather is so changeable, it's ridiculous. I've obviously watched motorsport for many a year, and Spa is always the case of, oh, it could rain at any point, and I just did not realise quite how ridiculous the weather here is. It looks like there's 7 different types of weather in the air at any one time. So hopefully you will enjoy this session. It is a 40-minute long session. And well, we are going to see who is the fastest going into qualifying tomorrow. So remember, we've got 2 qualifying sessions this weekend. Tomorrow morning will be qualifying number 1. Race number 1 will be tomorrow afternoon. It will be at, the broadcast will start around about 3 p.m. local time. In the UK, that will indeed be 2 p.m. And then in America, that will be 9 a.m. on the East Coast. And then the same time for Sunday. So, yeah, the time is exactly the same both days. So, yeah, it should be a very good weekend indeed at Spa, which is such a glorious place. But for me, this is such a driver circuit. Of course, there are going to be cars that may be a little bit quicker in a straight line, but, oh, well, there's Mikael Patamba, who actually didn't take part in free practice number 1. He didn't make it to the track in time. And, well, that car is stationary, which is not ideal, and that is Les Combs. So he's just gone straight on at the Camel Straight. I'm wondering if it might be a case of he stalled the car there, but it is a full course yellow as it stands, which is not ideal. As much as 40 minutes is quite a long time for a practice session, it is a long circuit, so they will not get the opportunity to do very many laps at all. The marshal then going over to check if everything is okay. No, that car's going to be needed to be towed. So yeah, Patamba not taking part this morning. So free practice 2 is massive, but unfortunately, looks like free practice 2 might be a no-go here for the Heinemann Motorsport Audi driver. Tim Heinemann comes into this championship, or comes into this round of the championship with a very healthy lead. He was not leading going into the Nürburgring, but 2 wins from 2, 4 in the season now in total. And, well, Tim Heinemann for the Toyota Gazoo Racing Germany, powered by Ring Racing, as the smoke does pour out of that car. So yeah, I'm not too sure whether that is actually the recovery vehicle or not. But yeah, Tim Heinemann does indeed have a very healthy lead, and Colin Carasani still second in the championship, who has a very healthy lead over third, being Thiago Vivacqua. And well, I think Vivacqua would like a bit of rain this weekend. He, for me, at Norris Ring showed some incredible pace when it came to a full wet circuit in free practice 2 that weekend, and we haven't seen him, or we haven't seen any rain really since then. So, yeah, I think Vivacqua could really be a thorn in everybody's side if it gets to the point where it's a very wet circuit. It's supposed to be very moist tomorrow indeed. As they come through the final chicane then, looks like nobody's coming into the pits here. And as I say that, of course, Ricky Capo brings his car into the pits, and I think so does Eduardo Calhopa as well. But everybody else is stayed out here. It's now green flag. So, yes, green flag. So it looks like we've got ourselves a Colin Carasani fan in the chat as well. If you are indeed watching on YouTube, get involved, say hello. More than happy to give you a shout out. We've got Ruben Folev as well supporting Terry. Good to see. Yeah, good to see Terry's here, and he's all good. Wasn't very well last time out, so wasn't able to race, but back in the BMW today. You see a lovely shot here of them all traversing over Radio and over the top of Eau Rouge. And then onto that Camel Straight. None of these lap times are going to be that quick because they were under yellow flag conditions as they crossed the line, so they wouldn't have been going too fast into La Source. So it's a case of getting some heat into the tyres. They're old tyres as well. They will not bolt on a fresh set until tomorrow in qualifying. They have 2 sets per weekend. They'll use a fresh set for qualifying 1, and then indeed for the race 1, and then the same for day number 2 as well. But let me know where you're watching from around the world as well on this Friday. We do appreciate you tuning in. So I'm sure there's people being very sneaky at work watching. Maybe you're going to be making an appearance here at Spa as Papadopoulos then in the number 21, slicing and dicing past Hoffman. Tim Heinemann slicing and dicing past everybody. So come through Bruxelles, side-by-side action here. And this is practice. This is free practice, lads. Chill out. Although it is nice to see the cars already going side by side. Moritz Lohner then is the next driver who's going to try and come through as well. Spoke to Hoffman earlier after free practice 1, and she said the car doesn't feel too great. So this is what free practice is for, to get the car set up perfect. And by the end of this session, hopefully it should be in a better spot, that's for sure. Kristanos supporting the Supra on the grid as well. Zeal supporting Almeida. And then we've got Alyssa supporting Ricky Capo. Ricky Capo second fastest in free practice this morning behind his teammate Daniel Gregor, and they really have had a bit of a resurgence. Of course, Imola, it was not a good weekend for Daniel Gregor. He had an incident in free practice 1 which rendered his whole weekend done and dusted, and then at the Norris ring, a seized engine for Ricky Capo. He couldn't race in either race as well, so they've both missed 2 races so far this season because of things out of their control. I guess the mistake by Gregor is on a wet circuit at Imola on free practice, the only wet session that we had actually that weekend. So yeah, it's nice to see them having a bit of success as well. Not only are they having success in a DTM trophy, but they're also having success in DTM are the Kuss Team Bernard. So Henkefend is currently at the top of the timesheets in a 2 minutes 40.791. Then we've got a 2 minutes 40.980 from Moritz Lohner. Then Karasani 43.3. So it is BMW, BMW, BMW. And well, just to add to the BMW party, Fulgencio goes up to the top of the timesheets, and then Jordan Wallace does. So the top 5 right now are all BMWs. Don't worry, the times will absolutely tumble down from a 2:37, which is the quickest time as it stands. That will not be the fastest time by the end of the session. I can assure you of that. We've got Zepp then supporting Colin Karasani as well. Evo supporting Teo Overhouse. As you can see, the clouds in the background, by the way. At any point, it can just open. I was trying to sleep in my hotel room last night, and legitimately, the weather changed. I was led there for an hour not being able to go to sleep because it was raining cats and dogs, then it stopped, and it was raining again maybe 8 or 9 times over the course of an hour. It was ridiculous. So yeah, the Ardennes Forest has got a reputation for a reason, and it's quite mind-blowing that it is true. Colin Karasani, by the way, purple through sector number 1. Should hopefully be doing a track walk guide with Colin this evening. We'll put that up onto the DTM Trophy Instagram if we do manage to get around there. As someone kicks up some smoke in the background, I think that might have been Moritz Lohner. It was a red car. All is good. Let's see if we can see the red car in the background here make an appearance, if we can. Well, actually, no, it's Tim Heinemann and Moritz Lohner, so the 2 cars with red on. As we see Vivacqua there, Lewis Henkefend coming through the chicane here as they head on towards a double right-hander, then onto that very long, flat-out part of the circuit, down towards Blanchimont, through Blanchimont, into that final chicane, and then across the start-finish line. Such a long circuit here, of course. 31 minutes to go. Karasani's green through sector number 2 as well. So we've got Lewis Johnson watching this before school. He's in all the way from America. Appreciate you tuning in, Lewis. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're watching as well. Luckily, the races and qualifying are on the weekend, so you might have to wake up a little bit early for it. But of course, if you do miss it, you can watch it back because it's YouTube and it will be as a video. Colin Karasani then flashing the lights to Vivacqua. Vivacqua indeed getting out of the way. Vivacqua slowed down over the last 2 sectors. Daniel Gregor, well, was fastest in free practice 1 and is continuing that trait into free practice number 2. Although Colin Karasani is just on 2:35.440. That is the fastest time so far. As Moritz Lohner goes 2nd position, he is about 0.8 of a second back. Hoffman then at the top end of the circuit here, trying to get some heat into those tyres. Fulgencio up into 2nd position then, so 2 FK Performance Motorsport cars in 2nd and 3rd position. Davinson's home circuit. Are any of you watching right now on the Friday? Are any of you making an appearance this weekend? Are you going to be joining us here at Spa? So let me know. To anyone watching around the world on television, you can also tweet me at Actrovision or send me a message on Instagram. Let me know what you're thinking about the weekend so far. Maybe you've got some predictions as to who is going to do well. Absolutely, Chase. Lovely bit of DTM in the morning with a coffee Daniel Gregor in number 25. So you can tell the difference between him and Ricky Capo, because Capo's got bright yellow wing mirrors. Ooh, that's a step out of the rear. That's the old tyres using their magic. Of course, a green circuit, not very well rubbered in because of the amount of water we've had. And actually, as I look out my commentary box here, it is raining quite heavily, actually, across the start-finish straight. So this is going to be a good time. I think it might be the fastest time we see, because the track will not be in a good enough state. And it is, it's a 2:33.508, but for the second time in a row, I think we're going to have a wet circuit here. And how much of the drivers learn going into qualifying tomorrow? I think this makes things super interesting going into tomorrow, for the fact that no one's really got any real data. Tomorrow it's supposed to be very wet indeed, and then Sunday it's supposed to be wet in the morning and dry in the afternoon. But it was supposed to be proper raining all day here today, and it's just kind of been on and off, to be honest. It's not really had anything too crazy. But Daniel Gregor has posted a 2:33.508. Car 21, their last lap has just been deleted. So that was Papadopoulos, currently in P17, yet to put a lap time in. Yeah, the power slide there, Zepp, was very interesting indeed. And again, the tyres at the end of, I'm sure they would be the tyres that were used at the Nürburgring in that second race, and Gregor fell off a cliff. So you can imagine the grip he's got here at Spa is not really that optimum. But yeah, the Porsches, they really have come to party this weekend. They look fast, but yet again, how much can you read into that? The conditions haven't really lent itself for everybody to extract the maximum performance out of the cars. As they're all crossing the line here, and now the sun's out, so the rain's gone again. It's now dry once again, so the track will dry ever so, because it is really warm here still. It's very humid. So the track will dry very, very quickly as another massive grey cloud pops above the start-finish line. But yeah, Gregor is the driver that's fastest. Karasani actually went faster, whilst there was a little bit of wetting on the circuit. So Karasani now 1 second off the pace of Gregor. Uberhaus then is now into P5. And that was their fastest time so far. Fulgencio 6th, Lona, Capo, Heinemann, Cow Helper, currently a top 10. Nick Hanke and Jacob Riegel both into the pits. And they had a really good session earlier on as well. They looked really strong. So really it was the Porsche and indeed the Astons that looked really, really good. As here is Ricky Capo then, the number 26. Got those bright yellow wing mirrors. Windscreen wipers going off. And I asked the two Porsche drivers at the end of FP1 what was the difference between them and everybody else, and they just said bravery. They reckon in the changeable conditions they were just putting a little bit more on the line. But we've seen that not work out for this team in free practice before, so yeah, it's nice to see it actually working out. As Capo goes P3 now, 1.3 seconds off the pace of Daniel Gregor. Hoffman across the line. Not really a representative time as of yet. So car 21 is the only lap that's been deleted thus far. Track limits, Chase? Yeah, track limits are quite relaxed. They tend to be a bit more relaxed in free practice. Then it comes into qualifying. I remember my first ever season, I was commentating on the DTM Trophy. This is when we were working from home because of the pandemic. And all of the drivers during a free practice session, free practice 2, they were all called out of their cars. The session got red flagged. They had to pull their cars up in the pits. They all had to gather in the pit lane whilst the timer was still running. And the race director, quite literally like a school teacher, was telling them off the track limits because everybody was just, taking the mickey out of the track limits. So I'll never forget that. A couple of these drivers are still racing as well, so they'll remember that. But yeah, basically on a Friday, if people are really starting to take the mickey about the situation, then yeah, they get cracked down upon. But there are genuine places where they can run wide, there are genuine places where they can't. And this is why they have a briefing before the weekend, so they know exactly what to do, and it's a level playing field for everybody. So Teo Uberhaus then, only on single duty this weekend, which he'll be very, very happy with. a chance to really just get himself up that table. He was in third in the championship going into last time out, but 2 non-points finishes, due to racing in DTM and in D Trophy. Very difficult weekend for the young man. Currently half a second off the pace of Daniel Gregor. Ricky Capo, he was purple through sector number 1, and he was indeed purple through sector number 2. But Colin Carasani, who again needs a huge weekend for the Project One motorsport team, who have just actually announced themselves in the Le Mans Virtual Series. So they're powered by Diaz Esports. So Diaz Esports and Project One having a nice little partnership there. Moritz Lohner, who is driver manager for Diaz Esports, working with the Project One brand. As you can see, so much curb being used there by Capo. It's going to be a quick lap here. I think it's going to be good enough to go fastest here, but I think Carasani might be going quicker behind. Across the line then for Capo, and it's good enough for second. So still half a second off of his teammate Gregor, but Carasani, who's midway through his lap, starting to find a bit of pace. Oh, about 480 horsepower. That's the speed. If you go and follow Lewis Henkefend on Instagram, you'll see that he posted a picture of his 480 brake horsepower BMW next to his 60 brake horsepower Lupo. So yeah, that was a pretty cool Instagram post to see. But yeah, you should absolutely go and follow all of these drivers on social media. Follow at DTM Trophy, follow at DTM, and you'll just naturally get them tagged in there, and you can go follow them as well. All of them are pretty good on social media as well. Plenty of free content to indeed consume. So 22 minutes, 50 seconds to go, nearly at the halfway point of the session. Carasani is about to come across the line. It's not the greatest middle sector. It's not terribly slow, but it's P4. An improvement, 3/10, but not an improvement on position. As you can see, the camera there's got plenty of rain on the lens. But I can assure you right now that there is no rain currently dropping, but there's definitely some in the air. Tim Heinemann, of course, fresh from his double race win, clear in the championship now by over 30 points. Down in P9. And he wasn't happy with things. He says his car isn't that quick in a straight line this weekend compared to some of the others. It's Teo Uverhaus. It's gone green through sector 1, grey through sector 2. Still a pretty good middle sector though. And it's third position. Still no improvement on the time. So yeah, right now it is still a Porsche party, isn't it? Daniel Gregor and Ricky Capo are the two drivers to definitely beat. Daniel Gregor has just found a massive bit of form. Got a podium on the Saturday in race 1 last time out of the Nürburgring. Was in P2 for pretty much the entirety of the race. I think that they could have won the race if him and Capo didn't battle as a team, but they battled. Like, there's no team orders, which is fantastic for us watching, which kind of let Tim Heinemann drive away. But even though they were battling as crazily as they were still matching lap times with Tim Heinemann. So I think they could have won the race. But ultimately, it's a final lap lunge into turn 1 at the Nürburgring, which gave Capo to P2 and his first podium of the season. So Moritz Lohner now goes green through sector number 1. And a 43.8 is actually a very, very good first sector. Very good first sector indeed. Again, it's not purple, but it's still very fast. So we head then through the most important section of the circuit, realistically. I guess you've got Radeon and Eau Rouge. You've got to make sure you get a really good exit over the top onto that camel straight, because it is all uphill towards Les Combes. But through here, you can lose so much time by just setting yourself up for wrong for one corner, and ultimately you're just going to be chasing the apex the whole way around the middle sector. As you can see then, the number 47 here of Colin Carasani. The windscreen wipers are on, so it looks like down in towards Blanchimont, in towards that final chicane, there is still some rain around, although the times are still dropping. Welcome to the broadcast, Dave. Hopefully you're well. So as we come then through that final chicane, Colin Carasani backs out the lap here. Lewis Henkefend is indeed going to continue. Fun fact, done the Spa 24-hour for the first ever time, and I was the strategist for our team. Dave, who is currently watching live on YouTube, I gave him a 3-tyre strap, meaning I didn't change the rear left, and we finished in the top 10 because of that strategy. So, got plenty of experience here at Spa. Tim Heinemann with Moritz Lohner. It's not the first time we've seen those two names next to each other on a race circuit, that's for sure. Race room many moons ago, over the last sort of 5 years. I guess Tim Heinemann isn't so much in the sim racing realm anymore. But yeah, him and Moritz Lohner have had many battles on the circuit, and they still do an esports event here. Apart from, they've not done it actually here at Spa, but most weeks for the DTM. And Tim's won one, Moritz has won one, Vivacqua's won one now, I think, as well. So there's a nice little bit of banter amongst the pack there, and there's Moritz again. He'd love to just get one up on him in free practice too. Lights on here as well, as the track really is dark. So if you've been here from the start of the session, this is exactly what I mean by the weather here at Spa. So we've had it being completely sunny, like sunburn sun at the start of the session, which was what, 21 minutes ago now. And then it started raining, and then the sun came back out, track dried up, now it's raining again, and the track looks like it's like 8 p.m. at night, so it's about to get dark. It's crazy here, although Tim's got some smoke coming out the back of that car. That does not look very promising at all. But you see the back end of the circuit is around here where it is actually quite wet. Where I am right now at the start-finish line, there is no water on the circuit, so the times genuinely will not improve. From this point on, I think there's just too much water falling now. Although we're not seeing spray being kicked up here. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the track now might have gone beyond optimum in terms of grip. And in the pits come the top four then, so Gregor, Capo, both Team Kuss Bernard, or Kuss Team Bernard. Uwe Halsten currently third for Volkenhorst Motorsport. Then we've got the two Project One cars. Karasani's in the pits, Henkelfeld's still out there. Then we've got Cal Halper, the first of the BWT Mucker Motorsport drivers, in the Pink Panthers, the AMGs, currently in P6 as it stands. A fair old gap between them though. There's 1.9 seconds between the top six as it stands, and again, we just haven't had the conditions for the times to be that close. It's been so different throughout the session. We then got Moritz Lohner, we've got Almeida in P8. We've then got Heinemann, championship leader by quite a country margin at this stage, in P9. On an outlap now is Fulgencio, Folev, Vivacqua and Jordan Wallace. Papadopoulos, who showed some real improvement when it came to the Nürburgring, really mixing it for the points as well. He is currently in P14, should I say. Then we've got Nick Hanker, who was very good in free practice one. Not quite had the session here, very similarly to Regal. And then we've got Hoffman in P16. Mikhail Patamba, on the first attempt of the Camel Straight, ran straight on at Les Combes. And unfortunately, the car stopped and had to be recovered. It's not ideal. Missed the first free practice session due to just not being at the track. And second session, the session is over. So free practice 2 with 16 minutes 50 seconds to go. I think you'll find we might have a next 15 minutes of me just talking about the championship and filling the time, because I'm pretty sure every car is going to bring it in with the conditions like this. And it's strange because where I am right now, there's no rain. No rain at all, but it looks like there's a hell of a lot of rain at the top of the hill. And the top of the hill is a lot higher than where I am. The undulation of this circuit is quite ridiculous. Let's talk about the championship standings then. So Tim Heinemann right now is on 151 points. So 151 points then for Tim Heinemann coming into this weekend. There are points on offer for qualifying. So you get 3 points if you qualify P1, 2 if you qualify P2, and 1 if you qualify in P3. 25 points for a race victory, and then a fastest lap award of 1 point. So you can get 29 points per race day over the course of the weekend. Of course, that means 58 points are indeed on offering. This season, Tim Heinemann's got 140 points during the races. He's snatched up 10 points during qualifying and 1 point for a fastest lap as well. They also have success ballast. So P1, P2, P3 all get success ballast. Obviously, if you finish in P1, you get more success ballast than P2 and more than P3. And that is then for the next race. If you then win 2 races in a row, you don't then get an additional 25 kilos. It's exactly the same each time. And you do not have any of that ballast when it comes to qualifying. So qualifying, they're all with the standard cars, no ballast involved at all in terms of success. Colin Karasani then went into the championship with a 1 point lead at the Nürburgring, and he came out of it, unfortunately, 39 points behind. It was a terrible weekend for Colin, and a massive learning experience here. As you see, Tim Heinemann is indeed coming back out, so hopefully the track does improve enough for us to see some times being posted. Thiago Vivacqua then on 77 points It's a massive margin back, actually. He's now 73 points behind Tim Heinemann, so it's very close to a two-car race here, and with only 6 races remaining in the season, it's going to take someone effectively winning 6 races on a bounce if you're going to be outside that top 2, I would say. Teo Uverhaus on 76, currently in P4. Last weekend, of course, racing for Valkenhorst Motorsport, not only in a DTM Trophy, but he became the youngest ever driver to race in DTM. And he also, in race number 2 of the weekend, he led the race. So they had a safety car earlier on in the race. Every car decided to come in and change their tyres. And Valkenhorst, I guess, decided, you know what, this is going to be an experience for the young man. They decided to leave him out. He was P1 in a DTM race at 17 years old. Remember the name, Teo Uverhaus. He's going to be an absolute superstar. All he cares about is going fast. He is a very, very fast driver. And they've got Kauhalper for BWT Muka Motorsport, currently P5 in the championship with 58 points. Qualifying, really good. Race pace has just been a bit of a letdown, but starting to come around as the season's progressed. And that's the same for everybody, really. Everybody in this championship is showing a lot more pace now than they did at the start of the season, which you expect. We've then got Lewis Henkefend, who got his first ever victory at the Norris Ring. He was the champion of the BMW M2 Cup last season, has kind of been promoted with Karasani. Nick Hanker, another driver that's come from that series as well, although no one ever remembers Nick from the BMW M2. Yeah, he always mentions that to me. He's like, yeah, no one ever remembers me from that. Yeah, he also took me around the Nordschleife, and the less I talk about that, the better. We then got Rodrigo Diaz Almeida for BWT Muka Motorsport. He's on 52 points. He's currently in 7th. We've got Jacob Riegel on 46. JP Southern, who I actually spoke to yesterday. And again, no confirmations or anything like that, but he's hoping to be back at some point this season, which we definitely want to see. A bit of a qualifying specialist, to be honest. His absolute pace in qualifying. The races, he managed to get 2 podiums this season. But yeah, for the most part, his qualifying was just absolutely outstanding. So if he could have strung a few races together and he didn't have a glass shoulder, then, wow, JP Southern might be in amongst it for the championship hunt here. Just very unfortunate for the American that he has suffered that injury. Again, Nick Hanker, 42 points, P10. We've got Daniel Gregor, P11, but he had 2 podiums last time out. So he's probably, apart from Tim Heinemann, the form driver in the championship. Moritz Lohner, P12. Ricky Capo, probably 3rd form driver, I would say, coming into this weekend. But he's only on 27 points, just had such an unfortunate run as it stands. We then got Fulgencio, Sterian Folev, Jordan Wallace, Sophie Hoffman, Papadopoulos then as your 18 drivers in this championship. So we are back out there. I think most cars are back out there. It's only Gregor, Capo and indeed Kauhalper who haven't bothered to go back out there with 12 minutes to go. I'm not sure if they indeed will. I'd like to see all the cars out there. I think the track is actually in a decent condition now where there is a potential for times to be improved now. But it is Daniel Gregor, Capo, P1, P2. As they were in Free Practice 1, the conditions were very much more changeable in Free Practice 1 than it is now, believe it or not. Uverhaus then half a second further back. Karasani, Henkefend, we've got Kauhalper, Lohner, Almeida, Heinemann, and Fulgencio. So welcome to everybody watching on YouTube or watching around the world, maybe on television as well. Get yourselves involved. Let me know where you're watching from around the world. Put those flags in to the chat. If you have any questions across this weekend, make sure that you can send me a message on Twitter or indeed on Instagram at ActrolVision. You can also follow DTM on the socials, so at DTM.official on Instagram, at DTM on Twitter, and at DTM Trophy on both Instagram and indeed Twitter. That's where you can find the schedules. You can get loads of content in terms of stories, reels, and all sorts of posts on the social media. There's one thing DTM does exceptionally well, and that is social media for sure. So car 5 has had a lap time deleted as well. So yeah, not ideal there for Folev, but Folev P11. I think he'd be pretty happy with that, considering he's been out of practice. His summer break's been extended. It was 7 weeks for our summer break. It's been extended to 9 for him, so he's a bit well out of touch, I would say. Chase there with the American flag. Love to see it. It's Tim Heinemann then sliding that Japanese car out in that number 90, heading down towards Blanchimont. In the first free practice session, they were having to brake quite heavily for that corner. Not so much now. Through Blanchimont, absolutely flat out, down towards then the final chicane. And in terms of sector times, yeah, it's not the quickest here actually from Tim Heinemann. As he steps on that loud pedal, you can definitely tell his old tyres there as well. As the rotation comes in, a little bit of oversteer along the start-finish grid, we will go. So Heinemann stays where he was. P9 Papadopoulos just crossing the line as well. So is Henkefend as we now head into the last 9 minutes. Regal's back out now. He's on an outlap as well. I think Hanke is coming out of the pits as well. Jordan Wallace has just crossed the line. Anderson Augusto then bringing in the support from Brazil. I'm sure you're here to support Thiago Vivacqua. And this camera angle actually does justice to how much of a hill there is down in towards the entry to Radion. It's a massive hill. It's yeah, it's quite crazy how downhill that is. And then this is all uphill towards Laiscombe. So much curb grab there on entry. Tim Heinemann is pushing this car now for sure, trying to find out where the grip levels are going to be. Of course, we've got loads more race sessions throughout the rest of today that will rubber the track in. They'll be hoping that there's no rain overnight, but we are promised for it to be a very wet day tomorrow. So it's going to be very hard for these drivers to indeed acclimatise to the conditions. It's really quite as simple as that. As Karasani comes across the line, 7/10 still off of Daniel Gregor's time. But Gregor and Capo still in the pits. They did this at the Nürburgring, and there was a reason for that. It's because they felt very, very comfortable. They didn't feel like they had to do any preparation realistically for the weekend because they had everything under wraps. As Theo Uverhaus now goes across the line, still 0.5 of a second back, half a second back here. As Jordan Wallace there got the windscreen wipers on. I'm not sure it's raining anymore. I think that Wallace might have just wants to try and get rid of the wiper fluids out of the car, go make it lighter. As actually we see a green first sector then for Wallace. Another driver very similarly to Papadopoulos, who has just really improved over the course of this season. The FK Performance Motorsport team, they are very much about developing drivers across the season as well. Ben Green, last season's champion, has been at most race weekends. I'm not sure he's here this weekend, but he does all of the track walks with them on a Thursday. He's doing a lot of coaching with them, giving some tips and tracks that he has indeed gone on. And, well, Jordan Wallace runs out onto the gravel trap there, grabs him, chucks him out left. And, well, it's better to be doing that in this session and not in qualifying or a race. Pushing it maybe just a little bit too hard there. It was a good lap time up until that point. We're going to get a replay here then. And is it a case of just getting stuck on that curb? You see the rear just twitches through the right-hander. Yeah, it does. Just snaps a little bit. So it went from a lot of oversteer, tried to correct it, and then instantly understeer. So had no grip into lots of grip, and then runs the car out wide, grabs that gravel trap. Gravel trap just drags him out left, and actually, very fortunately, he didn't just career into that barrier. So, yeah, Jordan Wallace got away with one there, I think. And again, better to be doing that in practice than to be doing it in a race. As you can see here, Colin Karasani, number 47. With the windscreen wipers on as well. Currently grey through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Jacob Regal. It's currently green through Sector 1, but as you can see here, Karasani is 0.6 of a second quicker than Regal, and this is Regal's green attempt at the first sector. It's just not really put too many laps in this session. Moritz Lohner now green through Sector 1 as well. Some viewers from Japan watching as well. So welcome to everybody watching around the world. So Karasani then, P4 still. Again, it's not understated how much of an important weekend Spa is. Got a lot of experience here at Spa as Karasani. And he needs to have a big weekend. Cannot afford to be dropping points to Heinemann again this weekend. Everybody really needs Heinemann to have a bad weekend, to be honest, so that the championship could become more than 2 drivers potentially winning it. So this really is a vital week, not only for the drivers, but for us as fans as well, to see how this plays out. Because Tim, on the form he is in, he could put himself into a position that becomes very difficult for everybody else. He did this in Season 1, remember, where this championship was pretty much sewn up with 6 races to go. Not mathematically, but pretty much done and dusted. Is he going to be able to do the same thing here in 2022? Moritz Lohner then, about to come across the line. It's gone green through sector number 1, grey through sector number 2, and grey through sector number 3. P7 then for Moritz with 5 minutes left on the clock. so difficult to get the power down. So it's an uphill braking zone. So you kind of get used to the car almost being helped into the corner because of the camber, and then, well, that lap time's going to be deleted for sure. Yeah, well, there's 4 lap times just been deleted. That's definitely a run wide. He's in a different postcode. He's nearly in Zolder. Yeah, so difficult for them to get the power down because, again, you're uphill braking in towards La Source, and then that helps the rotation of the car because of the camber of the corner. But as you get midway through, the camber drops to the left, so you're off camber. And then it's downhill as well, so it's just so difficult to get the grip, and you'll see them all weekend long just trying to sort of almost oversteer the rear and slide the rear to help the rotation of the car, just to get that power down, because, again, it's very important to be getting a lovely run down towards Reading and Eau Rouge, because if you give someone a chance to go side by side through there, you're just going to lose so much time. And if anyone else is behind you, they're going to have a massive run on you on the Camel Straight down in towards Layscombe. So only 3 minutes, 40 seconds to go of our free practice number 2, the first broadcasted one of the weekend. So it looks like, yeah, car number 48 then. Hoffman has just had a lap time deleted for track limits at turn 17. Regal, green and green, so just improving pretty much every lap now. Karasani, grey and indeed grey here, as he is about to come across the line. Is it going to be a quicker time though? No, it's not. So still half a second back. There's Overhouse. I think Regal is getting a nice little toe here. Very much later on the brakes than the BMW in front. Overhouse is going to run a little bit wide. I think Regal's going to be, yeah, he's going to get held up here. So I'm not too sure. This is going to be a lightningly quick lap, but it's going to be a little bit quicker. That is for certain. Across the line then, it will be for both of these cars. And Regal goes second fastest. So out of nowhere, no real preparation to get that lap in, has found some pace. So the Aston Martin has split the 2 Porsches. Those 2 have not come out for about 15 minutes. So the Kuss team, Bernard team were happy with their pace. And, well, Speed Monkeys have taken full advantage of that and chucked themselves right in the middle. Can Nick Hanker find some time here as well? Is Hanker even out on circuit? Yes, he is. He's actually just crossed the line. So Nick Hanker will start a final attempt now. Yes, it will be a final attempt here for Nick Hanker. Sam Bird, how you doing? Welcome to the broadcast. Hopefully you're well. If you are watching around the world on television and you're wondering who's he talking to, I'm actually talking to the YouTube chat. So we try and get them involved over the weekend. So nice to see a fair few of you watching on Friday for free practice. Karasani then probably will get one more attempt here. And they do not need to complete, once the checker flag comes down, just on the exit of La Source, the old pit lane, they get to pull in there. So they do not need to complete a full lap after they cross the line, which indeed saves them from exhaustion, of course. Car 11 just had a lap deleted. Track limits at turn 17. Karasani not on a lightning time here through the chicane, opening up the left-hander there pretty nicely. I'm not too sure he's pushing the car too much in. No, he definitely isn't. Just chilling out here is Karasani. As we then head towards the double right-hander. Now it's the loud pedal all the way down towards Blanchimont, through Blanchimont, down in towards that final chicane. And should get one more lap in here, should Colin Karasani. Is there an opportunity here for him to potentially just throw the cat amongst the pigeons here and go, do you know what, we are here to party, we're here to get involved. There are potential race victories for us this weekend. And, well, I think that might be a case of a lap time deleted again here. Car 21 just had a lap time deleted for track limits at turn 17. And that's going to be interesting in the race when it comes to tomorrow and Sunday, because 5-second penalties after 3 warnings. And a lot of these cars have had more than 1 or 2 warnings during this session so far. So if in a race scenario where you really are pushing, it's going to be even more difficult. So race time penalties may come into effect. Cesar, you're going to try and be there. It's going to be good to see you if you're there. Ethan Williams is from Wales. Welcome. Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend this weekend. So if you are indeed around the area of Spa, if you're around the area of Francorchamps, then you should absolutely try and come down this weekend. Tickets are still available, of course. But yeah, it should be an absolute classic. So many classes of car racing this weekend as we do now head to 0 on the clock. The checkered flag is now indeed going to be waved here for free practice number 2 for the DTM Trophy. And, well, it is all about qualifying and race time tomorrow and indeed Sunday. So all the preparation's done. The setup will need to be locked in as Moritz Lohner crosses the line there. So Gregor has finished. He's done and indeed dusted. We've got Riegel still out on circuit. Then Capo, Uverhaus. We've got Karasani, Henkefend, Kauhalper, Lohner. They're done. Vivacqua, Jordan Wallace, and Nick Hanke are indeed finished here. Session done and dusted. Mark de Fulgencio is going fastest in terms of his own personal best in Sector 1 and indeed Sector number 2. Hoffman, personal best through Sector number 2. Heinemann still sliding the rear of that Supra out. As across the line then, well, Tim Heinemann's got the checker flag. Fulgencio goes up to P6. So there's a party of BMWs just outside that top 3, all queued up then with a couple of AMGs, and then Heinemann down in P11. Be interesting to see what the conditions will bring this weekend. Again, we are kind of promised rain all day tomorrow, and then sort of half rain, half sunny when it comes to Sunday, with the races being in sunny conditions. Sterian Folev about to come across the line then. He'll be the last driver to take the checker flag, I think, with Jacob Riegel as well, actually. And it's P11 then for Folev. A pretty good session, actually. Goes ahead of Heinemann. Where's Riegel in all of this? He will be the last driver to cross the line. Is Riegel going quickly? And Riegel has just gone green through sector number 1. It's not purple, but it's green. But I tell you what, in sector number 2, he's gone purple. He did this at the Nürburgring, did Riegel. He was the free practice 1 specialist that time round. It was Henkefend that was the free practice 2 specialist. And well, it's Riegel about to go fastest here, right at the death when no one else can indeed respond. Runs a little bit wider, opens up Blanchimont beautifully well. That's a perfect turn 17. Down in towards that chicane we will go. And well, currently a 1/10 of a second up on everybody so far. Through the final chicane here, Jacob Riegel, 9 foot tall human being. Very tall man indeed. Around the final corner we will go. Across the line we will go. Will we go fastest for Speed Monkeys? And it is. It's P1 by a 1/10 of a second for Jacob Riegel. And wow, Team Speed Monkeys have done it again in free practice. But whether they can transition that into the race or not will be a different story. So there we go. Practice done. First session, second session. It's now on to qualifying 1 tomorrow, race 1 tomorrow, and then Super Sunday. Race 2 and qualifying 2. Here are your official results then. It's Jacob Riegel who takes the spoils here. Gregor, P2, P1 in free practice 1, P2 this time round. Capo, P2 in free practice 1 and P3 in free practice 2. Then we've got Uverhaus 4th, Karasani and Fulgencio, Henkefend, Kauhalper, Moritz Lohner and Rodrigo Almeida as your top 10. We've got Folev, Heinemann, Vivacqua, Wallace, Papadopoulos, Hanke, Hoffman and Pitamba. Unfortunately, didn't do free practice 1 because he wasn't here, and free practice 2, it ended on the first attempt. Plenty of racing action coming your way this weekend from the DTM Trophy. Make sure that you join us tomorrow morning. It's pretty early for qualifying 1, and then in the afternoon, after DTM race 1, it'll be DTM Trophy for race number 1.